Why, hello everybody. So today we're doing another review as read, and today's book will be The Warrior King by Chris Bunch. And today we go through the same format. We're going to first, of course, talk about the book. Then after that, we'll give the cons of the book, the pros of the book, and of course a conclusion. So, first things first, to give you an idea of the book, to let you know, this book is actually the third book in a trilogy. The first being the Seer King, the second being Demon King, and the third, the Warrior King. Preface, I did not read the first two books. I actually picked this up at a sale in about the year 2000, I believe. And basically, the title caught me, and I bought it and I read it. And so, what's the story about? The story is about the lead character being Damascus. The master says Sinabu. If I mispronounce that, apologies. And it's about him and versus the ex-emperor, which he actually put in power in the Seer King, and who actually turned bad in the Demon King, who he thought he had killed, but actually came back alive, and the two of them are battling it out in this book, and with massive armies and all. So it's basically Tenedos versus Damascus' army, and that's basically the story of it, the synopsis. And they're fighting over to basically to stop Tenedos from basically destroying the country and what you could argue was the world. So to let you know, there is very graphic sex explained in the book. So if this is not a book you probably would buy for a very young child. In fact, the youngest I would ever allow to read this would probably be 16, maybe even 18, depending on how conservative you are. So that's basically the synopsis of the book. So first we're going to the cons of the book. And one word to explain this book is over the top. And it really is like a Hollywood movie. Everything is over the top. The size of the armies, the way people act, and actually I found something weird. Actually, it was actually produced by Warner Aspect. So the fact that this actually reads like a over-the-top movie screenplay, especially in the year 2000 when I got it, if that was when it was printed, I'm not surprised. To give you an idea how over the top it is, each person's armies, and there were about there was the Damascus' army, there was Tenedos' army, there was the Peace Guardian army, and there was the Massyrians. Each of these armies numbered at least 500,000. So you're looking about 2 million men. That definitely be over there if you add the numbers, but you're looking about average out 2 million men on the field. And this is a medieval world. How, again, if you know anything about medieval transportation, or to feed that many men on the move with armies is almost impossible. Again, of course this world has magic where they can preserve by magic and all, but still it's so over the top. The numbers, I mean, to what you read, the wizards are quite rare, so for them to be able to preserve all the food, I mean, the wizards could be put to better use basically. And because of that, it's written like a screenplay. There's a lot of Deus Ex Machina moments, meaning those miracle moments where I won't give any spoilers, but basically it's like if I told you to sneak in past a 1,000,000-man army to do something, and he manages to do it. Another thing is, of course, they keep emphasizing about the basically Tenedos, the enemy in the book, the villain, is the greatest wizard ever in the history of this world. Yet somehow even simple spells sometimes can get past him. I know you can explain that he cannot be everywhere at the same time, but still the greatest wizard of all time. Some of the things that manage to get past him just don't make sense to me. And of course, the biggest part about all this that equates from the over-the-top army sizes, the magic thing, and all, which is not extremely well explained. Again, I only read this one book, so maybe they did that in the past books. Are the plot holes. There's so many plot holes that come up. Like, again, I don't spoil anything, but when I read it, I kept thinking is, example, how again, okay, I won't spoil it. So basically there are plot holes, and of course another big problem is the ending. You actually feel you know how in big budget movies they actually end and they like suddenly at the end the alien doesn't die, it opens its eyes, like it's sequel baiting. This feels like that. This ending really felt like sequel baiting. I mean, it's not a bad ending that you felt like you were cheated, but definitely it's not a finish to the story. So yeah, take that in mind when you read the book, that I do think he was intending to write more in the series. So now that we talked about the cons, let's talk about the goods of the book. And first things first, actually, the thing as you can see, it has the best map I've read thus far in a review as read. Fantastic, man. Very, very detailed. Of course, the problem is the binding here. It covers some of the words, but actually, if you open wide enough, you can see it. But it's a fantastic map. I could really see someone using this as a RPG map, and I really suggest he does, actually, because it's very detailed. In fact, it's so detailed, and although the words are really small, that halfway through the book I stopped turning back to this to see the campaign distances and all that, because it actually got a bit tiring. But super detailed map, very nice. Although the words are small. And also, Chris Bunch, as I can't find it at the moment, but they actually say he writes one of the best. He's one of the best at writing battles, and I actually do agree. Actually, if you read his biography, he actually was in the Vietnam War and all as an elite trooper, so maybe that's where he gets it from. But he is basically writes very good battles, best in the review as read series as yet. Especially the campaign one, where there is a lot of realism. Like example, he says, like, if you have a 1,000,000-man army in the field, camped, the surrounding countryside is ravaged. If there's, especially with a peasant army and all, you're basically looking at people being raped, people having every single possession of theirs just taken from them to feed the army. So in that part he does really, really well. And also the battles, he has very good positioning on, like, how many men are here, how many men across the thing, how they holding the bridge, there's barricades and all. Very, for battle wise, well done. A good read in those parts. If only the things weren't over the top that much with 1,000,000 men. How did he coordinate with just bugles? Baffles me. I mean, at that one point he says he's in the middle wanting to give orders. But if you had to give an order to a 1,000,000-man army, a rider would take an hour or so to get to the flanks to tell them to move left or right. So again, the problem with all that good realism he puts into the story is the over the top thing, which makes huge plot holes into the story. Like I just told about, it would probably take an hour, yet the flank manages to move within minutes, to how you read it at least. On top of that, actually the characters actually have a lot of depth. The main characters especially, but again, I would say that if you actually read the first two books, you get a lot more out of this book, because a lot of the characters are returning characters. But that being said, he actually gives a very good backstory, a quick summary on who they are and all that. And I do say, by the end of the book, I actually did feel like I knew the characters somewhat. So he did that very well. Also, the good thing is that he's not afraid to kill off characters. This is before Game of Thrones, and he kills off quite a bit of characters actually by the end. Makes you feel like a real war, I must say, because people do die, even if they're high-ranking commanders and all. So that's a fantastic part of this book also. So basically, this is the first time that I would think that you wouldn't know whether I would actually like or dislike the book before the end. In conclusion, the book is average. I didn't like it as much as when I was a kid, because now that I've grown up, I tend to read things and think in terms of that realism factor. I like the more realistic books. So, but I didn't hate reading this as much as the Crane book from Legend of the Five Rings. It's an okay read. It does get pretty tiring in the middle when they are doing the miscellaneous stuff. Like, again, I don't want to spoil it, but you know, the thing where they go past the million man army to do that one thing, and that gets really slow. You know, all from all the battles, suddenly then after that he and this girl hooks up, and suddenly you just have a sudden pause in all the action to see this love scene, and then comes back to the battle. So it's an average book. Not bad, not great, and take it as what you will. Just basically take what I said about the book. If you feel that the pros outweigh the cons, get it. If you feel that the cons outweigh the pros, then if you skip it, I wouldn't blame you either. So there you go, The Warrior King by Chris Punch. Till next word.